Karishma mentioned, I'm Kavitha, and I am from Bangalore in the last 7 years. Originally from Andhra and then from US, and now made Bangalore my home. I'm an engineer by education, but that doesn't actually define me at all. I am an engineer by default, literally, having started, literally actually true, because I don't remember anything I've actually studied. I went to school to probably become a civil engineer. Didn't really like it. After one semester, I went to electrical. Then thereon, I got the opportunity to transfer to architecture. I think a lot of you here are architects. Yes, I mean, I did that. And then I didn't really like the program after about a year. So I kind of went to computers. Then I was in school for too long. And then I told my dad, I'm really tired of being in school. I think I need to get out. So then he told me that maybe I should just go talk to my advisor, who has a list of all the courses I've done through all these years of being here, being there, doing all that. So I went and sit with him. In about 5 minutes, he said, you know what, you've done all these things, and I've taken some electives, some mandatory courses, and all that stuff. And then he said, you know what, if you do about 3 of these remaining courses and do a lab, you can probably get an electrical engineering degree. So I'm an electrical engineer by default, not because I wanted to be one. I wanted to be many things, but initially I also wanted to be a CA and an aeronautical engineer. So God knows. So I give up. So actually now I don't do any of those things. I run, I cycle, I dream. And that is what that defines me today, literally. And I'm not on the run. I run to have fun. So I'm a globe racer. That is the company that I work. Actually, I developed in India since 2009. So I consider myself a globe racer for having run across India, across the globe, which takes me places and allows me to live, which is, I think, something we all dream about. Somebody told me one day that the best success is to live the dream that you wake up with every day. So I hope most of you all are dreaming as you study to become something, and if you realize that that is not something you want to be, you get an opportunity to change whatever you're doing today and go do something that you really want to do. And some would actually have all of us thinking, I mean, from what I told you just now, of the things that I've done. By the way, I actually went to engineering quite by chance too. Yeah, I didn't tell you that, did I? Yeah. So after I finished my 12th, where you actually end up going to whatever, BCom, BA, engineer, medicine, whatever it is that you want to do, I refused to take those exams, the CET exams. Somebody by one of my friends, as they were going, they filled out the forms for me as well, took my pictures, did everything for me, so I had my hall ticket. So on the day of the exam, I said, fine, I mean, I'll go with you. So I went with them. So I went into the hall rooms, I sat there, took my papers, I wrote the exam. I ended up with about, I think, a 1500 of a rank or something like that. And in those days, that itself was not enough. By the way, I'm 41, so that was a long time ago. So that was in probably 1990. So in those days, even that was not enough to get a seat in one of those coveted colleges like now. In those days, they were called regional engineering colleges or IITs or whatever. It was not enough. And I was like, well, I didn't really study. I didn't really do anything. I still ended up with a So maybe I should try it one more time. So I just took the year off, which was unheard of in those years. I mean, in those days. I mean, staying out of school, roaming around, lurking around, literally, actually not roaming around. So yeah, doing those things, and I've done that, and that was the year when Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. Yeah. So just before the exams, Rajiv Gandhi's assassination happened. So I spent all my time watching Rajiv Gandhi's assassination on TV. And I would go to my friends, hey, did you see this? And they'd be like, shut up, just hang up, you're studying. I'm like, okay, fine. So, and that kept happening, and then I went and took my exams, and my dad's a doctor, so I would go with him to the operation theatre, watch him. I never wanted to be a doctor, so everybody would assume I wanted to be a doctor because I always was seen in my dad's operation theatre. But I never wanted to be a doctor. So I used to go there to convince everyone I didn't want to be a doctor. I don't know why I was doing that. So I did all those things. And so I went and ended up with a 700 rank or something like that. And so I ended up in REC, which again, I left, by the way, because my professor kicked me out. In one of those basketball games, I fell, I broke my back. So I had to go home for 3 months. And he refused to believe that, despite me having all the medical reports, the x-rays and all that stuff. So he wouldn't let me sit for exams. So in a classroom like this, he's standing here, he's telling me, you're a liar, I'm standing up. He's trying to insult my dad, me, that I'm, probably doing some nonsense. I said, no, hell no. And now here are my medical reports. And he said, anybody can create those. I said, to hell with you, and I walked out of class. And that was the end of my engineering. So then, by then, we had migrated to US, so I got a chance to do all these, go to this and that and that and that, and end up with an engineering degree finally. So beyond that, I just wanted to ask you guys, among all of you right now, who would have considered me a failure, having heard what I just told you? Yeah, isn't it? I think, all my uncles, aunts, my dad's friends, my dad's best friends, my mom's best friends, my sisters, not so much, but my sister's friends, my friends. Everybody would tell me, you really need to settle down. Everybody would tell me, call my dad and say, hey, we just saw Kavitha here today. What was she doing? I mean, why wasn't she in school? Or she's living at home for too long, and why isn't she going out and doing what she wants to do? So everybody had an issue with it, or everybody was concerned for me. And when I actually graduated in 1997, after all that, from 1990 to 1997, 7 years in between, I had a degree, by the way. And I was offered a job at Anderson Consulting, and one of those coveted jobs in those days. If you guys may be not aware of those companies now, are you? No? Okay. So I was offered a job there, and I refused to take it. And in those days, kind of offered a job at $36,000 a year was a big deal, and really a big deal. I said, no, I'm really not interested, because they didn't allow me to take the process consulting. They wanted me to do technical consulting. I said, hell no. So I went out, started on my own, became a multi-million-dollar company. And then everybody's like, oh wow, she can do something. I mean, after all these running around for 7 years, getting a degree, she can do something. And then I failed again. So in the sense of personal setback, actually and I had to close the company and went back to being called a failure and all that stuff. So I want to show a few things today that we have prepared actually. Pretty much kind of didn't start showing the slides. If Karishma, if you could. Okay. How many times an idea, you would think of something, right? And then you would say, hell no, you would trash the idea. How many of you do that? How often do you do that? A lot, right? If you look at it, how many of those ideas are sitting in that crumpled paper today? How many of those ideas could have actually become something today, right? I believe that no action is ever wasted. No result is ever unwanted, and no failure defines us. If any of those things I've done in my life that were considered failures, I wouldn't be here, standing in front of you today, smiling away, and sharing all these experiences with good cheer in my heart and not in a very dull, dark mood, isn't it? I hope that, none of you actually from today, when you have an idea in your head, write it down and don't throw the paper away. Maybe a few years down the road, you'll go back to those stack of papers and find something that fits, that days, that moments, conditions, or the opportunities that you have, that you can really do something with it. And it doesn't have to be becoming a Reliance company, a Tata or something. You could just be you, what you are. And maybe that idea that you haven't thrown away could come of use to you that day. This is me. Failures actually is me. And those failures have been so beautiful in my life that I just don't think I would want to do any single thing differently. And with that in thought, when you told me about these things, I wrote a poem. Among all these things, I kind of dwell in some poetry once in a while. And I wanted to share this with you guys. I will kind of read this out if you allow me to do it. And it's also on the screen. There is nothing that is failure until you bring it home and leave it on the mantle. A single glance sinks your heart, never letting you forget that you're a failure. Coined by those holier than thou, righteous and blessed, defining failure. Blessing sought, ready for war, to get the prize that is success. To sit pretty on the mantle till another mortal goes to war, to win success for themselves. When failure returns to sit pretty on our shelf, round and round we go, mindless, fighting a battle reeked with failures, a glib thoughts hold to us from the day we breathe until the last. What is failure if not someone's measure? Is it yours? There is nothing such as failure until you bring it home, sitting pretty on your shelf. How many people in your life have tried to sell the idea of failure to you? Telling you that, don't do this, you're going to fail. Don't do that, it's not good for you. Maybe you can do something differently. That choice is not that great. Most of you probably would have had someone at least tell you that in your life. The way I look at it, someone is trying to sell failure to you as if it's a commodity. So we kind of take it home as if it's a nice big trophy, put it on the shelf, and we're always looking at it. Oh my God, that is our prize. Unfortunately, failure is not our prize. Success is. But since the time we learn to breathe, somebody's always telling us differently. Don't go to this school. Our aunties, out of good intention. We all know aunties in India, don't we? And uncles. Yeah. They have all the good intentions. Since, our neighbors have a child, they're so eager to tell them which school they should go to. And then what clothes they should be wearing, how long their hair should be, all the things that, isn't it? What do you think of that being failure sold to you? Isn't it? Your dreams as a child are being shunned. The moment somebody sells you failure, your freedom to dream is taken away from you. And that sets the platform for the way we actually live our lives, the way we dream for ourselves, and the way we actually accept when something doesn't go the way we want it to go at the end of the day. Simple thing as, let's say we had a contest in school. You go out there dreaming that you're going to stand on the podium. Maybe you come, you stand second, you third, fourth, maybe not even that. You come home crying because somebody told you that if you hadn't succeeded in that today, as good as your parents most likely, that somehow you're a failure. So you stop dreaming. You don't want to go contest the next time. Is that good for you? Somebody has actually sold you the idea of failure, isn't it? And we brought it home, and it's sitting on our mantle, and we look at it every day. And that's what I mean when I say failure is a commodity. It's something that can be sold to us, and then we buy constantly. few examples of how we look at it, right? Most of you here are creative people. To be in architecture especially, or to be in any other form of education, anything, it doesn't matter whether it's engineering, you're going out to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, an artist, a painter, a singer, an architect, or simply a teacher. Anything that you do is a form of art. That you're actually allowing your mind to dream. You're allowing those dreams to become reality for yourself and for somebody else. So if an artist is not able to sell his art, is he considered a failure? Or is he doing it for himself? And eventually somebody likes it, or maybe somebody doesn't like it. But is that failure? Or is the artist living his life out until he breathes no more? An adventurer who hasn't yet conquered the highest mountain, the deepest jungle and barren desert. A child who does not secure a place in a coveted preschool. That's where actually we are being told. That's where we start being told, something is a failure. A soldier who lost their arms and legs in war. A student who takes longer to pretend to comprehend what's taught to him or her. How many times have you thought that? Isn't it? We wake up thinking something is not going to work. We don't wake up thinking, wow, I'm going to succeed today. Where does that come from? The negative thought has been instilled in us, like I said again, from the beginning, unfortunately. So when it comes to my life, I think I spent the first 5 minutes explaining to you how I got my engineering degree. So to come to that journey, actually, it's been a long road for me. And you'll be surprised to see how many failures I've actually been through. At the age of 15, I almost died. And that's mainly, I would think, because I didn't understand the consequences of a rushed life. I'll get to that in a minute. I was a failure when I did not secure a seat in the coveted engineering discipline, as I hadn't prepared for exams, by choice. I was a failure when I actually did choose to go on to engineering the following year, but failed to secure a passing grade in the second semester. Like I said, I kind of did not allow my professor to demean me. I walked out, and he happened to be the head of the department of my branch. So you know what's going to happen. Yeah, my lab was in his hands, by the way. So every 6 months I would go, and he would not give me a passing grade. So that happened for a year, and we realized it's never going to happen again. Either he had to die or I had to die. So that was not a good choice. So we moved on. So when I actually ended up getting the degree, I failed when I didn't take up the job in one of the coveted companies. When I failed when I shut down my first company that was doing well, owing to a personal setback. I failed again when I had to shut down my second company that was all set for an IPO, owing to another personal setback. I failed when I had no patience to fight my property cases in court and settle for 5% of what my property was actually worth. So I failed when my professor expelled me. I failed when I shifted to architecture school, didn't really like the program, and went back to engineering school to get a degree. I failed again when my ideas were stolen and passed off as their own and bullied into giving up my own ventures thereafter. So at what point do you actually consider yourself a failure after kind of, going through all that? So would you have considered yourself a failure by then? I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really glad none of you would have actually given up. That's very good to know. So my parents' friends were quite concerned for me, and they would keep calling my parents and tell them that I needed counseling. Because I was really, not like their daughters and sons. I was out of control. So I needed assistance to be taught to settle down and lead a good life, as per their definition. I will let the following images give you a peek into my life. This was in 1998, when I had that accident that almost killed me. This was the last day of my vacation before my 10th grade exams. All of us prepare for board exams during the 10th grade. And our school was such that when in kindergarten there would be about 7 or 8 sections. So by the time you came to the 10th, there was only one left. So the principal of our school, he kept filtering everybody out, and only the cream was left by the 10th grade. And if you didn't secure a first class in the pre-board exams, you would not even sit for the board exams. That's how strict she used to be. So just before the pre-board exams, I was out cycling to go to my friend's house from where we used to run every day. It was the last day that I could go because from the next day school was reopening this was in January 1988. Apparently, I will tell you why it's apparently, at a 4-way crossing, when I was making a right, bus had hit me. And I literally flew about 20 to 25 feet in the air, came crashing down. And the resulting the injuries are these. Pretty much broke almost every bone in my body, in my arms, ripped my right face out. What you see actually is a very good patchwork by my dad. This is not the original me. And kind of, had amnesia, not, by the way, my principal came to visit me from school. I was like, who are you? So she's like, hell, no. Anyway, so she felt insulted apparently. And so I was like, anyway, so I didn't know her. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know my parents. I didn't know whoever was visiting me. I didn't know my grandmother. So when the time came, a month later, when I actually woke up, from kind of partial coma, the exams were just around the corner, and the pre-board exams were already done. So I was not part of it. So I didn't secure a first class. So I was not going to be part of the board exams. My parents had to go and kind of convince her, saying that, we will read to her. You can bring a writer so she can recite the answers and somebody can write for her. Which, after a lot of tussle, after going through a lot of my results, all these years, she said, fine. If you are willing to kind of ensure that she can actually pass, I'll make an exception. So I do, 3 days before the exams, my father, against the orthopedician's recommendation, cut my right hand's plasters. That is 3 days before the exams. And they gave me a writer to write. I go to the exam, I sit there, and I said, I don't want her. I can write myself. And the principal wasn't very willing to let me do that. I said, I'm here, I'm going to write it. So I did write my exams. And when my passing grade, when my results came, I secured a 76%, which is actually a distinction, not even a first class. That, she even today tells a story of how actually I ended up, whenever I go back to school, she kind of calls me in the assembly and tells the story and tells them, you need to do what she actually managed to do. That, I think, has set the stage for me in my life. That if I could do that, 3 days before the exams, if I could actually get my arm to work and write my exams of myself, and having not remembered anything, including E equal to MC square, I didn't remember even that. Today I kind of wonder what that is. Yeah. So if I could do that, I could do anything in my life. And the ensuing effects of this, next slide please. Effects of this accident are that, I used to be in a dark room for days on end sometimes, month after month, screaming that I'm falling. I used to have this terrible vertigo. So all my dreams of becoming an aeronautical engineer were dashed. I could not take up anything in aviation. So that's fine. So I wanted to become a CA, and all that things ensued. But at the same time, I could not cycle anymore because when I tried actually cycling, I would remember being at this end of the street, and next moment I would remember that being at the other end of the street. I would not know what happened in between. So I was kind of blanking out, which was one of the effects of the head injuries. So that wasn't, a lot of these things put a lot of, what I would say, kinks in, what I wanted to do. I couldn't do a lot of things. But in 2009, I actually had it. I mean, I was restricted to so many things. I would go to exhibitions and I could not get on those ferry wheels or any of those things. So I felt like my life has actually closed in. I couldn't do anything. So in 2009, with the help of some of my friends, I set out to do a cycling expedition. And since then, I think I pushed myself beyond what we would call boundaries. I don't look at anything as boundaries. I look at it as setting out to do something that I've not done before, just to go out and do it. And all these things I've been doing since 2009. I'm setting up the first 100-mile race in India, which is unheard of at that time. Have you ever guys heard of running 100 miles? How many of you run here? Lovely. What's the longest you guys have run?
10 km.
Awesome. Okay. And so that distance is something that we run almost every day. And 30, 40 kilometers is what we run on the weekends to train for something like this. And a 100-mile race, at that time when I started, I had like 16 people show up, and all of them are my friends. So I've called them all saying, you know what, you really need to come. Right? And they said, you know what, you need to add some categories like 30 miles, like 50 miles, and kind of make them relay so we can actually run. So that's how actually it happened, as a relay and shorter distances. And 100 miles, the only guy who ran that was the person that you see in blue t-shirt, Arun Bharadwaj. He is the best ultra runner in India. He's represented in India. He has represented India in a race called Badwater 135. It's 135 miles, which is run in about 120 degrees heat in Las Vegas in the month of July. So that's the only person who actually ran 100 miles the first year. So today, since 2009, it's 5 years since we have done this, we have about 100 people showing up for that distance. In the shorter distances, we have more. So if I had not been pushing the boundaries that limited my life in all these years, since 1988, we wouldn't have that today. Next slide, please. So I was doing all these things. People would wonder, does she run? I mean, she keeps saying all these things, and does she run? I mean, is she even an athlete, right? Because I'm organizing. When you organize, you can't run that race yourself. You have to be responsible for all these things. So all these questions about does she run? She says she runs and all this stuff. So one of these races, a friend of mine called Santosh, who's another awesome person that I've known in my life, runs for 24 hours continuously to raise money for an organization called Asha. How many of you heard of Asha? So he actually raises funds for that with every run that he does. So he runs for 24 hours, everybody contributes money that goes to Asha. So that there are usually other runners who come and kind of run with him for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But he runs continuously. So that day when he was doing this, it so happened that whoever was going to show up didn't show up. So I ran for the first 3 hours. I was like waiting for somebody else to come. They don't show up. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go back. So I actually ended up running and cycling with him for 24 hours. And I wasn't even prepared. So when life actually challenges you, I think all of us inherently have that in us, that we can actually rise up to that challenge. And failures teach you so many things. To actually stare in all these failures in their face and say that I can rise above. And that's exactly what happened here. That I've surprised myself by running 24 hours. And canyoneering is one thing I could only dream about. That includes water, heights, and the strength of arms, which all three are majorly disastrous for me. Any water in my middle ear and the heights because of altitude pop my ear, and I have calcified blood particles in my ear, which, loud sounds, water, all these things cause imbalance. and I will not even be able to kind of tolerate any sound, any light, and I'll have to be in a dark room. So this was actually a nightmare for me. So I went out there and I said, I'm going to do it. So I did that, and I can't wait to go back again. And along all those things I've done, crewing is one thing that I really love doing. Crewing is such a selfless. When somebody runs, what I've done with Santosh is called crewing and pacing, that you're there with them, you're helping them get to their goals, finish lines and all that. So when the runner runs, you're there ready with their food and all the stuff, and getting their mats ready to sleep, and so you're also actually going through all that strain and stress, but you're just not running, but you're just there ready for them. And I love that. That actually teaches me a lot of things. I mean, giving is a great teacher. How many of you have felt that? That giving actually is a great teacher. Isn't it? It's beautiful actually. And then, when people realize, well, she can actually cycle, she can actually run. So I kept getting called for events as a guest to kind of flag off things, to promote events and all that stuff. This is another event that I was called to, called Tour of Tamil Nadu. There's a tour on cycles about 800 kilometers over about a week or so, that you visit different places and do all that. And commissioning art. I mean, how many of you have really felt that you have like a range of talents, not just one thing? Isn't it? And then how many of you actually tapped into it and dabbled in this and dabbled in that? And doesn't it really make you feel awesome that you can do that and you can do this, and totally worlds apart? I mean, completely have no relationship to each other. Like, I just the way I write poetry, I run. There's absolutely no relationship to each other. But running itself is poetry to me. And something like this that I can conceptualize. This is an art that I commissioned. By the way, that is Padmanabhan Tandavarajan that I was telling you about, Bharat. That is the artist that I worked with. And a friend of mine has an MBA and a hotel management college. And she said, Kavitha, can you do something for us that brings all these students together? Kind of makes them feel like this, I'm sorry, I think. Kind of makes them feel like they're part of something, part of something that they leave behind in this college. So we thought about a lot of things, and then I thought about this big canvas that we could create. All of them can be part of this whole project. So we took all these monuments from across the globe, and I created a sketch out of it. And then we called Padmanabhan to kind of do the entire sketch on pretty much about this size, the wall size. He sketched it out on the canvas, and the students actually did all the coloring. So they would come between classes as it was going on. This was set up in the hallway of the college. And they would just pass by, they would just take a brush, do whatever color they want. There was no restriction on what colors they could use, how much of it they could paint. It was just there. So this was something beautifully done. And every time I look at it, I look at all my life coming together on a canvas. Until those years, all the life that that was part of, all those things that were part of my life kind of came together on that canvas. And every time I look at it, I feel happy. Look at it, how colorful and joyful that is. If just one of us were painting that, maybe it wouldn't be what it is, and the effect that it would have on us wouldn't be the same. And this is Roy Wooten, a Grammy Award winner. He had come down to India with a friend of mine called Ram, whom you see. And that is Kiran actually who owns that college that I was talking to you about. And I just requested her that, we want to have a concert in your college, a small one, and about for an hour or so. And because Roy was here in India, and he just wanted to play freely for anybody who wanted to listen. It's called the Black Mozart Ensemble. If you can go look it up, on YouTube, you'll find a lot of awesome, compositions. And she gave us opportunity without even thinking. She said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely, come and use auditorium." And we had a great concert that evening. It just went on and on and on, and musicians from, the students came up and jammed with him. It was just an amazing opportunity. And if I had for 1 second thought that, I can't organize, I can't arrange a concert, even for 1 second, had I thought about it, that experience would have never happened. and I wouldn't be taking all those beautiful memories with me going forward. Another cycling, bad water that I told you about, Arun Bharadwaj. That's Arun, third from the left. And I ended up going to, I made it happen for him because I happen to know that race director is a friend of mine from the US. So I invited him to India, introduced him to Arun, and he invited Arun to come run the race. And that so happens that that particular race opened up a lot of avenues for the runners in India. That was one single race. That one single thought of inviting Chris Cosman to India led to a lot of runners now, since 2011, going across the borders to run races around the world. And this particular, the next slide please. This is Samim Rizvi that I am associated with. You will find a lot about him on if you Google his name. He is the first Indian in 30 years of a race called Race Across America. Do you know what kind of approximate the width of US is? Close to about 4,000 miles. So he cycled across America in a race that happens every year in July. It's about 4,820 kilometers in 12 days. That's cycling 400 kilometers on an average in a 24-hour cycle. How many of you cycle here? How much can you cycle at a stretch? 30. Okay. So that's multiplied 100 times, plus some more, or 15 times. 150 times, sorry. So that's how much he can cycle. So my project with him was to get him to that start line of that race. The challenges we faced have been disastrous, monstrous, and totally disappointing. But we got there, and he actually cycled the entire distance in 2011. Since then, he was the first one from India and the third one from Asia in 30 years to qualify for the race. Since then, now we have 6 other riders from India who have qualified. And that is a beautiful thing for cycling in India. And this is my team called Team Globe Racers of Cyclists. They're all national medal winners. Asif Attar here is the best cyclist, one of the best cyclists in national level in India. That is Samim Rizvi. These are our teammates. So while I was doing all this, all the races that I've organized, I've created, all come together through a process. That when I keep thinking about all these regions I want to travel to. By the way, organizing these races is a good excuse for me to travel. So I can leave everybody behind, just go up in the mountains, spend a month. Oh no, I'm not done. I have to check another route. So I go off into the desert. I'm like, no, there was a lot of issues. I have to stay back. And that's one of my good excuses, and I've gotten away with it since I've been doing this. So I go off into the mountains and I run different routes, and I pick a route that is, unfortunately, people call me a sadist, or fortunately for me. Because I find the most difficult routes, the most testing and trying situations, whether it's weather, whether it's the elevation, whether it's the distance or the time limit that I give for runners to finish these races. So I really kind of loved and hated equally, maybe hated more a little bit, because every runner has not failed to tell me, while the race is going on, we're going to kill you after this race. So it hasn't happened yet, maybe eventually it will. But, so one of those times that I went out in 2013 to the Spiti region of the Himalayas. How many of you have traveled there? Isn't it beautiful? It's one of the most beautiful places on the earth. If you haven't been there, you have to. You have to travel to that region. Just go out there, visit any place in the Spiti area. It's just spectacular. You have to be there. This was in 2013 when I was going out there to Rekhi for a race that happened here. So that was when actually Uttarakhand floods had happened. Do you guys remember that event last year? So this was, I had just finished running 210 kilometers. That was the last day I was going to be there. So we were waiting for the army people we needed to get, permissions from. So I just finished about 200 kilometers. So I said, you know what, I have 10 more kilometers I want to do. So I'll just go run those 10 kilometers, I'll just come back and then I'll be the brigadier. And then we'll head out back to Shimla and go back on to Delhi. So we're waiting for him. I'm running. I'm on the streets at a place called Poo. It's just about, anybody heard of Rikongpyo, all these areas? So it's just about 60 kilometers from there. So I'm there running and it's about 6:30 in the evening. Slight drizzle starts. So throughout these 1 week, through the 1 week I was there, the driver would constantly tell me every time it would start drizzling, oh, it's not going to rain too much, so you just go run. Because when it rains here, that heavily, nothing survives. Because the mountains are like sand. It's just sand and rock. So if it rains, everything comes down heavily. So he just kept assuring us that nothing is going to happen, so you just go. And so the last 10 kilometers, I said, fine, let me just go run this. So I'm running 6:30, I have my hood on because it's raining, I have my earphones on, listening to music. And then suddenly it just felt too eerie. I was like, what's happening, right? So I just take my hood off, take my earphones on, I'm looking around, there's nobody on the road. There's absolutely nobody till as far as I can see. I turn around and there's nobody behind me. And there's usually army trucks in that area going back and forth. And say, I see nobody. Actually, I do see something. I see a donkey. He's just standing there and looking at me like, "To main to donkey hu." Where's the other donkey coming from? It's staring at me like, and starts doing its own thing. I'm like, okay, it doesn't look so good. So I turn around, climb the mountain, go up to the army base. And they're all like, well, it seems like it's raining too much. It's not too good to kind of, go out there on the streets late in the night today. Start tomorrow morning. He said, fine. So they gave us this accommodation and all that stuff. So we stayed. So 5 o'clock, we're all up, getting ready and all that stuff. I get a call from the brigadier saying, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, well, you said we could leave today. And he said, well, why don't you just open the windows and look outside? So we opened the door, and you can't open the door. There's a reason why he told me open the window. So I opened the window. It's all stuck, so we pushed the window out. There's ice all over the place. And there's snow all over the place. About 4 to 5 inches thick. We're like, oh crap. So I called him back and said, yes, I did see what you told me to see. So what does it mean? And he says, you're going to be here for a couple of days. So we're like, no, we have to go. We have flights and all this stuff and everything. And it's like, feel free. I mean, if you feel like, you can actually leave. You be my guest. I'll give you a jeep myself. I'm like, he's being too eerie, right? So I kind of put on my shoes, put on all the windshield things and everything, go out there, go up the main gate. I'm like, exactly why. Next slide, please. Where I was running the previous day, you can see there's no road. That's just outside the army gate. And that was the case all throughout where, so we were so lucky that we were in a protected environment that overnight. Had we been on the streets running the previous day, had it been the previous day that this happened, I wouldn't be here today again. So all these things should actually scare me, don't you think? It's almost like, every time I turn around, something's trying to kill me. It's not my runners, something is trying to kill me. Whether it's a bus hitting me or, something or other. So, next slide, please. And every time I go out, take my cycle out, I tend to fall. I have no idea why. That's what I would like to think. I know because, either a bus is hitting me. Every time you go out on the road in India, especially in Bangalore, if you have to have a moped, a motorbike or a car, how many of you wanted to kill some other driver? All the time? Every second? Yeah, somebody's trying to kill me, by the way. So I'll be on the road cycling, totally cool, right? I'll be here, and suddenly somebody would be coming from my right and cut me off. They don't realize I'm also moving. I'm not standing, I'm not walking, I'm on a cycle. And these cycles go very fast. The funny question we get all the time is, how fast does the cycle go? I'm like, it doesn't have, the motor is in my legs. So how fast I can cycle, That's how fast the cycle can go. So it's really, I don't understand how they ask me that question, how fast can the cycle go? So, I mean, so you see all these things. So that's probably what the car people or the motorcycle people are thinking. She really can't be going fast. So let me just cut her off and kill her. So anyway, that keeps happening to me often, but that doesn't stop me from doing what I do. Next please. And from 1988 to 2014, this was this past Sunday, not this Sunday, but the previous Sunday, running 12 hours in Kantirva Stadium. Have any of you heard of this on the radio? I think they were playing it out on the radio quite a bit. So you will see my famous, I don't think you really can see, but a little bit of it, I was wearing sandals, something like this. So I wore these sandals, hoping that nobody would ask me to go run. I mean, I wasn't in the mood to run. I mean, running takes a lot of good mood, by the way. So I just went out there to see my friends run, having helped organize and do all these things. So I go out there in my corduroy pants, nice sweater, nice sandals, fancy sandals. I'm standing out there. I'm like, I hope nobody's going to ask me to run. And I got actually bullied into and blackmailed into running. And it so happens that I took those pants to donate. And so I ended up wearing those. And somebody gave me a t-shirt. They said, no, we have a t-shirt for you. So I got a t-shirt. But I didn't have any shoes, so I ran in those sandals for about 8 hours that day. But I loved it. And so I keep doing all these things. And I came to this juncture in my life since 1988. Despite everybody telling me every move of mine, every step I took was going to lead me to failure. I mean, you would probably also think things that I've done, the results I have probably achieved some, probably failures. Despite all that, I'm here today. I'm standing here today. I'm meeting all these beautiful people. And nobody can tell me I'm a failure. I have never bought that failure and brought it home. But everybody in my life, excluding my parents and my sisters, thankfully so. Everybody except for my parents and my sisters told me I'm a failure, constantly. To the point of I keep getting called. You know what, we know a good psychiatrist. To the extent. My dad's best friend calling me, come home, let's talk. And he's a psychiatrist. I mean, I actually initially fell for it. I just thought he was, he lives 3 hours away from my parents in Baltimore. My parents used to live in New York at the time. So I fell for it. So I went, and he is opening up all these, is leading me into answering a certain way. I was like, wait, are you talking to me as my dad's best friend, or are you talking to me as a psychiatrist? He's like, I can prescribe these medicines. And I was like, thank you so much. I would just get up, walk up, and take my car and go home. I mean, you can find yourself in these situations often enough. And I'm telling you very literally of what happened to me. But subconsciously, you're going to find yourself in these situations more often, at least once a day. Once a day. From now on, pay attention to it. Pay attention to what people are telling you and how you're perceiving it. You will realize somebody is telling you to take a step back, not to take a step forward. And write these things in your diary. So what happens when you perceive it as something as a failure, right? You lose confidence, don't you? Sometimes loss of faith because you're not motivated to go get that, to become a manager or to become a VP or whatever it is that you want to become at the end of the day. Loss of relationships because you become this nagging person, this whining person because you're not happy with yourself. Because you think you're a failure. So somebody is going to leave you and go. Your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, any of them. They'll also have drive to dream, giving up on your dreams. Your imagination is curtailed. Eventually you end up in depression. Failure and our actions. It's funny though. I mean, we have been talking so much about somebody selling us failure. Even we sell failure to other people with our good intentions. Don't you think? Isn't it? We have done that often. We don't actually look at it as something somebody is wanting to do and is talking to you about it so they can actually find probably a different way of doing it. But we somehow want to be the good, happy friends that we are. And we tell them, you know what, it's really not such a good thing to do. So we ourselves have actually sold that failure to somebody. We make or break relationships choosing those who aren't failures. Haven't we done it before? We choose friends very selectively. We choose our boyfriends and girlfriends, our life partners, very, very selectively. We weigh their failures more often than their successes. There is reward we bestow on those who haven't failed. We take away someone's ability to dream the moment we sell them the idea of failure. We take away somebody's freedom to dream when we do that. What to do with failure? Allow yourself to be honest with yourself and those around you, no matter what your perception of the result is. There never is a bad time to start over. Never a bad time. If you need to do it 100 times, do it 100 times plus 1. If you go to your deathbed with a tag of failure, be proud that you kept trying all your life. It is so much better than sitting on the sidelines and wondering. Had you not woken up today, let's just say, and probably wanted to just sleep in, admit it, the weather is very, very cozy. Even I thought about it. I just was going to call Vishwesh and say, you know what, you have the PPT, can you just run it? I won't be here meeting all of you today. Kind of understanding and the smiles I'm getting from everyone. I won't be here going back home with a happy heart. So never wonder. Never sit on the sidelines and wonder. And we really need to breathe this out of our system. We have been told from the time we started to breathe that we are going to be a failure. Through all the examples we just kind of went over right now. In times of hopelessness, we turn to things that comfort us, allow us to vent and express, and feel the warmth that surrounds us. Here is something that gives a peek into one of my darker moods. Trust me, I have them more often than not. Yet there is always sunshine, felt in the poem that follows. These are 2 poems I wrote. The way I write poems is that mostly is at night. I'll be sleeping. Something jars my memory subconsciously. When I wake up, eventually there's always a piece of paper around. I find a pen or a pencil and I write it and I go back to sleep. When I wake up, it'll be something like this. And it always depends on the mood that I go to bed with. It's either a happy mood or a dark mood. This is one of my darker moods. I die a winter's death, cold in the middle of nowhere. My heart beating its last desperately keeps me warm. Chill mercilessly seeps into my bones, claiming its prize with ferocity unknown. Swirling around me, snow dust rises, carrying with it a soul long forlorn, waiting only for a kiss, its warmth denying me a winter's death. That probably, I had a heartbreak. I can't remember when I wrote that. So I was trying to kind of vent out my feelings, talk to myself that everything can be healed, and there's just a kiss waiting for me out there that probably will warm my heart. So find a way for yourself always when you're told you're going to have you're going to fail, or you have a moment of despair. Find a way to vent it. Go to a friend, and when the friend comes to you, be a good friend. Don't tell them they're going to be a failure. Help them find that sunshine. And this is what I wrote when I actually had a sunshine moment in my life. Singing the song of sundowns, whispering to wind to hasten the stars. Somewhere I hear a tempestuous thought, soaking me through last rays disappear, feeling burn of the soul, wanting to lust after. Dream a dream I dream, I lay on the soft bed. Whispering to wind to brighten the stars, sand shifts beneath, softly with a touch. Stars and all conspiring, dream a dream I dream. Never fail to dream. In that moment of sunshine in your life, ensure you pursue the dreams. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, ensure it's your dream that you're pursuing. In the end, None of us are going to take failure or success to the grave. Are we? The only thing that's going to the grave is our body, whichever form it is, and whether it's in ashes or your body and the bones or something like that. And maybe some secrets. How many of you have secrets? Come on, I'm sure you do. All of us have some secrets. So that's for sure going to the grave. But nothing else is going to the grave with this. And if you aren't able to fill the pages of your diary, if you're not dreaming, if you're not writing down those thoughts today, whatever comes to your mind, whatever it is, even if somebody's telling you you're a failure, write that down. Write that down today and write down what they have told you. And you analyze it and make a note in the column saying that this is not a failure because I love doing what I did. I've done it because I wanted to do. It may not be the results that I hoped it would be. As simple as a relationship. Maybe, you're unable to sustain the relationship at the end of the day. Your boyfriend has left you, or your girlfriend has left you, or you didn't get the promotion while competing in a company, or you didn't get a seat where you wanted to, kind of study or something like that. Any single thing. Write it down. And somebody has told you, we told you so. Write it down and tell them it is not so because I don't mind this result. And I'm going to get up today and I'm going to redo this 101 times. If you're unable to fill the pages of your diary, there's a thought that I want to leave you with. And this is something that I think about every single day. And this is me in Himalayan